friends, today I want to show you my latest used book haul. Y'all, there is the coolest used book store just about an hour from me, and I went the other day with a friend of mine. We were just gonna meet for lunch and go and kind of have a wander. I didn't have that many things that I was definitely gonna get, but I had some things in mind, and oh my goodness, we were there 2.5 hours, almost 3 hours, and I got $65 worth of stuff, but it was such a good haul. Y'all, I could have bought like 4 or 5 books for the cost of what I got. I want to show you what I purchased. I'm so excited to show you what I got. So let's get started. Okay, so we're gonna start with the literature books that I got. Now, yes, I know if you're Charlotte Mason, you're thinking, these are twaddle, but I am trying to collect some things that can be used as early readers as my girls get more adventurous, and for $1.50 each, they are obsessed with Frozen. So I got books 1 and books 2 in this Sisterhood is the Strongest Magic series. Then we don't have the first one in the Magic Treehouse, but we do have the next like 10. So I grabbed that one. And these aren't literature, they are nonfiction, but we are going to be doing the Ancient World next year. So I thought it might be fun to have these available for us to read, these fact checkers. Then we get into some more classics. So The Trumpet and the Swan, this is one that all the homeschool moms keep talking about. I've never seen it before, never heard of it before, but E.B. White wrote Charlotte's Web. So we're gonna try The Trumpet of the Swan, and for 50 cents, totally in our budget. Then I started collecting all of Laura Ingalls Wilder. Now these are all paperback. I do have Little House in the Big Woods in hardback, but I got The Long Winter, By the Shores of Silver Lake, On the Banks of Plum Creek, Little House on the Prairie, and Farmer Boy. I don't expect that we'll read all of these next year, but now I have most of the books, especially of Laura as a child, to read over the next couple of years. I am collecting more of the American Girls, so this is Happy Birthday Kit. It is the 4th one in this series, and I think I only have the first 2. So slowly building out this collection. And then I have some picture books. I'm continuing to collect books, picture books that are Native American legends, just so I have some at the house. Now, of course, we have a library that has many, but I have read a different retelling about the first strawberries, and this just looked really sweet. So growing my Native American folk stories collection. Then growing more of my biographies. So this is I Dissent, Ruth Bader Ginsburg Makes Her Mark. This is the story of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and it just looked really cute. An important story to be reading in our time, day and time, is a woman, particularly a Jewish woman, becoming not just a lawyer, but a Supreme Court justice is a huge deal. So I wanted to have a variety of books about awesome ladies, and this is one of them. Then we've got a biography of Nikola Tesla, A Life Electric. I just thought this one looked really neat. The art was cool, and Nikola Tesla is a really fascinating character, and so I will be augmenting all of our science readings over the next few years with science biographies. I think biographies help make science more narrative for children. And then Rosalind Franklin, who helped discover the double helix of DNA. I liked the art. I think that she's important. And while, yeah, DNA might be beyond my 5-year-olds right now, reading about women scientists isn't. And we can always save this for when we do study DNA. All right, next we have our science stack. This is Constellations, an easy guide to the stars. This looked really cool, and I'm hoping will be a little bit more of a user-friendly guide for us so that we can actually look up our own constellations throughout the year. I just am excited to use this with the kids. This is also kind of in the same vein, is Constellations, how to use binoculars and telescopes. These are more complicated star charts. And I just thought this is more of the adult version of this. And so we could use this with my 5-year-olds, and then my husband and my teenage sons could do that other one with me. This is another cute one, How to Grow a Seed. And I just thought this was super cute. And while we do have a science curriculum, this is just going to be an additional piece to that. We did not love the Field and Flowers version of The Good and the Beautiful, so we didn't do any seed study. So I'm glad to have a picture book at home to introduce this to my girls. What makes day and night? Again, this is just additional like science reading. I don't have any plans for this. We may use this when we do our science unit. We may just read it for funsies and have it around, but trying to grow our collection. This one is going to be in our actual world history stream, because we will use this when we study about prehistory and fossils. This is actually, I believe, one of the suggestions with either Build Your Library or History Quest. So since I found it, and I found it for a really good price, I'm glad to have added that in. And then Gail Gibbons, I mean, she's just pretty standard. I see her recommended a lot with like Bookshark and Sunlight, which are the same parent company. But I like the idea of using something like this as a gentle introduction to biology. And this is another seed book. Okay, this one was super cool. And for $2, I mean, this is basically new. And it is Lift the Flap Engineering. And it's just like, these are almost, I mean, unused, it looks like. So this just looked really, really neat. And my kids love Lift the Flap anything. And while some of this might be a little bit advanced for my, 5 going on 6-year-olds, still worth having and gonna use when we do the Simple Machines unit this coming spring. Adding to our guide collection, our field guide collection, I have 2 field guides of birds and 1 of wildflowers. So I thought I would add trees, and really excited to be digging into this one. Really cool. Some of these aren't near us, but some of them are. So I think it might be fun to look through this and see what's in our yard and then what's in the park right down the street from us. This is just one that I'm a little bit of an emergency nut and wanted to have, an old-fashioned how-to guide. You never know if the internet's going to be out, so adding to our collection. And then this one I've seen a version of in several different people's collections. And while my girls are nowhere near ready for this level of chemistry yet, I like the idea of having a really beautiful book like this to have it on our shelves for when they're ready. One of my daughters is obsessed with all things gold. She just loves rocks in general. So I'm not sure when we'll tackle, chemistry at the elementary level, but I figured that, it was $3, it's good to have, and let them start looking at it and enjoying it. All right, this next stack is more adult history, really to build out our history reference guide. This is about the civil rights. This is a little bit more teen, kind of late elementary, middle school level, lots of pictures. And so I will probably add this in when it is relevant to our U.S. history stream, but it's a good reference to have. Out of Many Faiths by Ibo Patel. I know Ibo, and I didn't have this one, so I added it. Oh, this should have been in the literature. This is the whole collection of Samantha for $2. So although I have the first and second, I think now I have the whole collection for $2. The only downer to doing the collection like this is you don't get as many of the Peek in the Pasts quite the same way, but there's still some there, so it will still work for our American Girl history stream. Then an African American and Latinx history of the United States. This is just, again, a good reference to have, and it was super affordable, so glad to have a lot of these on my shelf. Collapse, How Societies Choose to Fail or Succeed by Jared Diamond. He wrote Guns, Germs, and Steel. We have 3 copies of that, plus the audiobook in our family. I'm curious about this, particularly in the time that we are living in the year of our Lord 2025. Also, just, an interesting reference book, something that I might read, my husband might read, one of my sons might read, and worth having on the shelf. And for 75 cents, worth it even if we don't read it for a while. I am trying to buy more history, like general history, U.S. history books. So this is one of 2 big general history books that I bought. And it is trying to be kind of an overall history of the United States. Sorry, but this isn't perfect, y'all. This is my first time using this camera angle. But I'm trying to have a nice diversity of history options, and this will be a reference guide going forward for myself and as we do U.S. history with the kids. Okay, this is our last section, and it's again all sort of history related content. So this is notable Native people, 50 Indigenous leaders, dreamers, and changemakers from past and present. And this just looked beautiful, and I thought would be worth having for us to get, again, a more robust understanding of Indigenous communities, not just of Indigenous leaders of American past, but also people who are leading right now. So I was really excited to find this. Then I've been looking for a high school or college textbook that I could use as a reference guide. And my old AP history book I can't find. I used The Unfinished Nation, but I did find this. It is a high school textbook, but it looked pretty good actually. And not that we're going to use it for years. And, you know, who knows if we'll even be homeschooling by the time they get to high school. You know, we choose to go year by year to see what's best for the family and the kids. But as a reference book, I really wanted to have some physical copies of reference books. Currently, the government is taking down websites that have anything with DEI. I want to have those things included in my history. So an older history textbook is important. So I have one and I'm excited about it. More women who do awesome stuff. Women Who Dared, 52 stories of fearless daredevils, adventurers, and rebels. The only downer is a lot of these cover the same people. So this one I think had, this one had a lot of different folks than we've seen. Because if you get a lot of like 50 great women, they tend to be, you know, Amelia Earhart and Marie Curie. And there's only so many times you want to hear about her. But these were all sort of different women. So excited to add this into our morning time. Then we have a picture book of the Silk Route. We are not going to be studying that this year. This will be the beginning really of next year, but I loved it. I thought it was so cool. And I haven't seen a book like this mentioned in a lot of the curriculum guides. And for $1.75, I thought, I'm going to go ahead and add that to the library. The Librarian Who Measured the Earth. I've seen this recommended by other families. I've seen this recommended by other homeschool moms. And I think I could fit this in with next year. And it's sort of a history and science book. But I think it will fit with my ancient history unit. And I'm excited because this is about Eratosthenes. And I'm excited to add this in. This is just a little teacher reference guide, and we might use this, we might not, for 50 cents. I'm glad to have some extra ideas for teaching Indigenous American history with projects and activities. All right, this was one of the other history books that I found. These are dated, of course, right? It's a used bookstore. But I just liked the fact that there was lots of pictures, very readable. This could be something I use in late elementary school. Right now, I'm thinking we will do American history in 5th and 6th grade, do a 2-year split. So if we do, this might be a nice addition to that, for that age range. Last book we got was a giant dictionary, a giant children's dictionary for 75 cents. And it was bigger than I initially wanted because this is way more than my 5-year-olds need. But I figure they will eventually need it. And it was 75 cents and it's basically new. Editing Brecky here, and it has been almost 2 weeks since I filmed the previous footage. I just haven't gotten a chance to edit that. And I actually went by the same store on my way to somewhere else. And this is what I picked up. Now, I gave myself a 1-hour time limit and a $20 budget for this quick trip in. Y'all, this was all purchased, everything you're about to see, for less than $18. It was like $17.80 or something. It was less than $18. I was there just over 1 hour. I think it was like 72 minutes. The last haul took me almost 3 hours and $65. This was 1 hour and $18. So want to show you what I grabbed, and then I will wrap up everything for you. Quickly, I have these flower fairies of the winter and flower fairies of the spring. These are the most precious tiny little books, and I think I'm going to add them into our poetry tea time collection. I already peeled the sticker off, but they were 75 cents a piece. Then these Ibu Good Manners cards. I saw this on, I want to say, Secular and Free Mama is the name of her channel, but she is a second generation homeschooler with a gifted 6-year-old and recommended these. And when I saw them for $2.50, I had to pick them up. Then I got Hua Sacagawea. Now my bookstore has a ton of these, and for 50 cents, I decided to pick up just this one. We are doing an American history mini series alongside our world history. So we'll be following the American Girl series, but doing just one girl a term. So I think that this might be a good biography to add in during the Kaya unit. I also picked up Lead Us to Freedom, Harriet Tubman. There were several little readers like this about Harriet Tubman. I just picked up this one. This one I am gonna save and probably do for 2nd grade when we do Addie's unit. All right, these are so funny. Now remember, this is not in any order, and all of these so far have been 75 cents or less. The Would You Rather books are pretty fun. They're a nice way to get wiggly students to sit down and come to the table. So you can play them like a game or just read them like we do. So for example, would you rather wear your used socks on your hands for one day or tie your shoes to your head, right? And so they can kind of joke around with these questions. So this is the EU one, and then this is the Christmas version of basically the same thing. So for 75 cents a piece, those will be fun. Now, this is a book, this is a single shard, this is covering that, but one of the things that I have been doing is I'm trying to keep a mental list that I'm actually going to write down in my phone note section on books I need for not just 1st grade history and literature reads, but 2nd grade history and literature reads. Because for 75 cents to get a book that I need is a pretty good deal. Basically for me, if it's under $1, it's a win. So going ahead and collecting this takes place in, I believe, medieval Korea. So going ahead and adding this for next year, and I'm gonna start a shelf of medieval resources. This book is anti-racist, again for 75 cents. This is too advanced for my 6-year-olds. This is more late elementary, middle school. But I'm going to hold on to it and see if I can incorporate it. Listen, if in 2 or 3 years I haven't used it, it was only 75 cents. Same thing for these 2 books from American Girl. They were each 75 cents. This one for sure is a little bit too advanced for my 6-year-olds, right? Microaggressions, these things are a little bit too challenging. However, probably by 5th, 6th grade, this will be right on the mark. So I have this already in my repertoire, along with Understanding Families. Now this might be good a little bit sooner than 5th or 6th grade. A lot of this is about feelings and communication. And so I think that this could be helpful, you know, really, I don't know, 8 or 9, maybe 10. But this could be helpful for social emotional learning when we get there. All right, this is one that one of you recommended. I've seen on one of your channels. I don't remember who, but this is where you have an artist and you kind of look at their famous artwork and then you make your own. So for Van Gogh, they have a little information on Van Gogh, right? And then they have, you can do your own sunflowers or your own Starry Night. And this just looks pretty cool. Yeah, and I mean, they're mostly European, let's be real. But I'm kind of excited to have some ideas for teaching art along with artists. Okay, this was cool. 95 cents, Math for All Seasons. They're like little riddles and then math. And again, for the kind of opening lesson, kind of brain warm-ups, I thought this might be fun. And then another book on seasons, and I'm going to be adding this to our science readers. We don't have a ton of little readers like this. I was trying to get them for under $1. Several of the Gail Gibbons ones were like $3 a piece, and that was more than I wanted to spend. But this is about the moon, and since we will be doing a space unit, this might be a good time to read that one. All right, along with our Kaya unit that's coming up, I thought this would be a nice reader. We could just read a spread based on maybe the mythology that we're reading or any of the supplemental picture books we might be adding to Kaya's reader. Whoever was using this before was specifically looking at the Sioux, I think. Yeah, the Dakota Sioux and the Pueblo peoples, which I think is interesting. Show Me a Story. This was something I really liked. I think that this is kind of a Waldorfy style book. It's craft projects to teach storytelling. And I really liked the idea of creating either ways for the kids to practice storytelling with me or a way for them to remember and give them a different way of telling me the story that they just heard rather than straight, simple narration, just giving them another opportunity to practice their narration skills. This is one for me, Grit for Kids, 16 Steps for Developing Grit, Passion, Willpower, Perspective, and Perseverance in Kids for Self-Confidence and a Successful Life. I have no idea if this is good or not, but this is one of the ones I'll be adding to my Mother Academia shelf. Smithsonian Maker Lab, this looked really neat. So not all of these are things I could use right now, but they are sort of taking your things from around the house and creating something. So this is the double helix. I think that this could be really fun to do like on a rainy day or to combine with the science program. This one looked really cool. So even if it doesn't match up with the science thing, I feel like this could be a Friday fun day project. So we are going to be doing Fridays for any catch up if we're behind, but then something fun like an art project or a science project. So, or a field trip. So I'm excited to add this. And for 50 cents, if we only do 2 or 3 of the experiments, it's already been worth it. Finally, The People Could Fly, American Black Folk Tales. This is a book that I remember as a kid. Now, the versions I had as a kid were full color and were beautiful. They did not have any color ones at this store. It's all black and white, which is a little bit of a bummer. However, to have this on my shelf now, so that I can start looking ahead and planning these into our curriculum so that I can begin to add these tales in for our American history stream is something that made it worth it for me. I can always upgrade it. It was 75 cents and now I have it. I have it on my shelf. So this is the second stack. And remember, this whole stack here was just $18. It was less than $18 for all of these books. What a steal, y'all. What a steal. So as you can see, I had such a great day up at this used bookstore. Lots of American history resources, some good readers for the kids, some things for me, things to bulk out my shelves, and I didn't have to spend a huge amount. Oh my goodness, I am still on a bit of a book buying high. I need to go sort these out and put them on all of their relevant shelves, but it was awesome to be able to go and buy all these excellent books. Comment down below and let me know where you go to find your favorite thrift books. Do you have a local shop? Do you have a big shop like this? This is a chain that I think has different locations around the Southeast. So this is McKay's. It recently moved from Greensboro to Mebane, and so it's a little bit of a hike for me, but not terribly so. And for these prices, totally worth it. Do you have a place like this that you would recommend? And what are your favorite things to look for at used bookstores and thrift stores like this? I love to look for little readers, and of course, any kind of expensive textbooks that are older editions that I can snag for cheap are so great. All right, y'all, this is my big used book haul. I only have a couple books left for getting everything ready to go for next year. The stuff that I don't purchase right now is going to be things we just get from the library. I am making my plans for my read alouds, and this haul has gotten me so excited. I hope it's gotten you excited, and until the next video, y'all, bye.